Good evening. My name is Andrew Baxter, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit this evening about the responsibilities that citizens have during times of disaster. This recording is being presented for PAD 5397 under the leadership of Professor Janet Dilling, PhD. When we think about the roles that citizens play in an emergency, we also have to think about the emergency management cycle. A citizen has responsibilities, and those responsibilities are needed at all phases of this cycle, through mitigation, through preparedness, through response and recovery. Let's talk a little bit about when an emergency actually happens, though. That happens right at the beginning of the response phase. And as a citizen, you have to be prepared for all hazards, not just here in Florida, like we like to think of. Our biggest hazard that challenges us every year is a hurricane. But as a citizen, be thinking about all hazards. As we go through this presentation, we'll be thinking about those in different ways. Let's focus on mitigation. What can citizens do during the mitigation phase? Well, the first thing, make sure your insurance policy is in place. Make sure you have good flood insurance, renter's insurance, and make sure that you have special coverage and it's appropriately validated for your property level or the values. And so it depends where you live in the country, but that could include earthquake here in the south, east, and along the Gulf Coast. Hurricane insurance is a thing that you might want to consider. What else can a citizen do? Well, that National Flood Insurance Program is a key saver of many, many homes and will help to mitigate the damages that could occur from a major flood event. Mitigation also means you might be able to participate in what's called the HMGP program. This stands for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Although this is not a program that a citizen can request money of the federal government directly, local governments may request funding on a citizen's behalf. And what are the things that can be done with the HMGP? A link is down below for further information. But here's an example. You can, if you're in tornado country, you can have a storm shelter built onto your house, a tornado shelter. You could have your house potentially moved if it's in a flood-prone area. Or if it's along the coastline where there could be coastal flooding, you could be elevated. And you can see that here in some of these other pictures. What about when it comes to preparedness? What can a citizen do then? Well, the most important thing is to get a plan. Without a plan, you're nowhere. But the first part of getting a plan is knowing the basics. What are the alerts that are in your local area? Where are the shelters that you're going to go to if you had to go to them? What are the evacuation routes that'll take you to your fallback locations or to a shelter should you have to go there? What are the communication tools that you're going to use? Do you have those pre-programmed, and are those programmed with everyone else that you might be in contact with? And do you have a kit? That can include many different things for many different scenarios. Step 2, what are the specific household needs that you have? This might include medications. It might include pets. It might include several other items that are unique to your situation. Step 3, fill out an emergency plan that's readily available from sites like ready.gov or here in the state of Florida, floridadisaster.org. Get a plan. Step 4, practice that plan. It's really important that citizens practice their plan because during an emergency is not the time to practice. FEMA has recently implemented a marketing campaign related to being prepared. Let's take a look at what they say.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
As we move into the response phase of a citizen looking at an emergency, when an emergency happens, again, right at the beginning of the response phase is when the disaster actually hits. Tune in. Listen to your local authorities. Listen to what they're saying. This could be coming from TV, radio, your local emergency management website, or other social media channels. Make your just-in-time preparations. Here in the state of Florida, one of our most significant events is a tropical storm or a hurricane. Typically, these events have several days' notice. And so make sure that you get sandbags in place if necessary, shutters. Make sure you have fuel for a generator if you're not going to be evacuating, because it's likely that you will lose power in a major storm. Have all of your preparations made, ready to go. Some other things to consider as you're preparing, especially here in Florida. During the response phase, after the storm has hit, always run your generators outside to avoid any carbon monoxide poisoning. Make sure your gas tanks are filled up in your car, not just for your extra fuel storage. Cover those windows with hurricane shutters. Secure outdoor objects and bring them inside. And keep all trees and shrubs well trimmed to avoid flying debris. Make sure that you have that emergency radio, something that even can be powered with a hand crank, so that you can have that communications with the outside world and know what's going on. Make sure you're subscribed to the emergency alert system. Also, during the response phase, this is the time that a citizen needs to follow that plan. Again, this varies based on the events and instructions, but the plan might change because of those events. So as you develop a plan, make sure that it thinks about different scenarios. What could happen if you had to lock out, lock down, shelter in place, or evacuate? What does that look like? For secure, you want to secure yourself. You want to make sure everyone is out. For a lockdown, you don't want anyone coming in. Evacuate, that means get out of the area. And shelter, that means get to a place within your facility that is the strongest point. As we move into the recovery phase after the storm has hit, what should citizens do then? Well, establish communication. That's the most important thing. Get in contact with your family. Tune into local agencies. Understand where support can be found. And then start to initiate and clean up efforts. Contact your insurance. They can help. And be on the lookout for how to handle debris removal from your local agencies. That'll look like this. You'll likely be asked to put debris at the curbside, and large trucks will be rolling through communities to pick up trash. Again, make sure you contact that insurance agency. They are your first lifeline toward getting back to recovery. Next, an opportunity that comes after a major incident or a disaster are what are called disaster recovery centers. These are FEMA established centers that are kind of like a one-stop shop for all disaster assistance needs. There you'll find individual assistance, the ability to sign up for that. This really only happens after a presidential disaster declaration. You'll be able to sign up for things like Operation Blue Roof. This is an Army Corps of Engineers program where reservists or other Army members or their contractors will come and put tarps on your roof for you. They also will be contacts for Small Business Administration, where you can get low interest loans for rebuilding and recovery. And then there might be sign up for things like the Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or DSNAP, where you can get reimbursed for food that may have been lost during an event if there was power outages. Resources are listed below related to all of those. During recovery, you'll find on FEMA's website where all these disaster recovery centers are located. There, they'll be staffed with people that are wanting to help. If it's a major disaster, FEMA may even set up mobile disaster recovery centers. This picture down on the bottom right-hand corner is a mobile disaster recovery center that was set up after Hurricane Michael on Mexico Beach. So in conclusion, it's my encouragement to every citizen to get ready, to be prepared, and should there ever be a disaster, you want to be thinking about that disaster and how you will approach it in each phase of the emergency: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. For more information, go to ready.gov. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.